Hi everybody and welcome to the One Wildlife podcast with me, Abbie Barnes. This is simply a show about life, and as such there are no boundaries to where our conversations can take us. Along the way, we simply aim to inspire, empower, educate and uplift, exploring how we can all live our best lives every single day. Before we get started, I want to mention that this podcast is hosted by Spend More Time in the Wild, which I founded in 2016 to help individuals get outside for the benefit of mental and physical health. Over the last few years, the project has grown into a worldwide community of passionate and courageous individuals working together to enjoy the beauty of our wild spaces and protect them for generations to come. You can find out more about both the podcast and Wild by visiting www.spendmoretimeinthewild.co.uk. Don't forget to subscribe to this podcast wherever you're listening, or head on to YouTube to watch the full episode. Alison Inglis has been a college lecturer since 1989 and worked with the Open University teaching business, management and IT. She has also been a practicing Buddhist since 2003 and is in training for ordination with the Triratna Western Buddhist order. Like many Buddhists, she wanted to take up holistic therapies to help others and practice kindness and generosity. She also wanted to do something that involved her hands rather than her brain to balance out her working life. So, in 2004, she was personally trained by Narendra Mehta, called the guru of the British Indian head massage movement, who developed a unique technique called Indian Champissage. She then trained further to become an approved tutor in the massage in 2007 and has since been providing treatments to clients and teaching others the technique. She is the only tutor to offer this in Scotland and the north of England. Allison later branched out into natural facelift massage and Indian foot massage. She lives in a beautiful Scottish glen known as a thin place where the difference between heaven and earth is said to be minimal. In this episode, we'll be chatting with Allison about Buddhist philosophies, in particular loving kindness and mindfulness, and we'll be exploring how massage could benefit all of us in our day-to-day lives. So, Allison, welcome to the One Wildlife podcast.
Nice to meet you, Abbie. It's lovely to be here. Thank you.
How are you doing today?
I'm doing very well.
Good.
Yeah, it's doing well. It's been a good day.
Good.
Lovely day.
What's the weather been like with you guys up in
It's dry
Scotland?
today, but it's been a bit wet and windy recently.
Oh,
yeah,
man.
it's not been the best, but it's still beautiful whatever the weather's like.
Yeah, you seeing the signs of spring?
Yes, definitely. It's getting very green.
Oh, yes.
Yes,
Same
beautiful.
here. Feels like
Yeah.
you're just driving through fluorescent green tunnels. It's
Yeah,
incredible. Yeah.
Sometimes it overwhelms you when you look out at all the different shades of green.
Yeah.
It's gorgeous.
And you know, I want to just dive in a little bit actually. A thin place, so where the difference between heaven and earth is minimal. Like, where does this come from?
It's a Scottish saying, but I think it probably relates to lots of different places in the UK. It's basically a place that has spiritual energy, that has special spiritual energy. So it's a place where there are lots of ley lines that run through. I live in a glen and they run through the glen, and these are a bit like meridians in the body, and they're just to be special. They join up sacred sites.
Wow.
So where I live has been known as a sacred site in the past. Well, and still is actually. It's got a very, very special quality to it.
Okay.
You can tell that there's something special about it when you come into the glen.
That sounds amazing.
Yes, it is.
It's got a good vibe.
That's exactly it.
Yeah.
A good vibe. Yeah,
Good
it's like
vibe.
you leave everything else behind, and it's just peaceful and tranquil and special.
I think we all need more of that, don't we, really?
Yeah, definitely. Very privileged to live here.
Yeah. Well, listen, there's so much I'd like to dive into today. And I'd like to sort of start with Buddhism. So, you know, I have not been brought up following a Buddhist tradition. It's something that I've obviously only heard of from the fringes. But I'm familiar a little bit with the middle path. And basically being the difference between indulgence and deprivation.
Yes.
That's something that resonates very nicely with me, being a very non-materialistic, nature-based person.
Yes.
But I was just wondering if you could give us a very brief run-through of the history of Buddhism and sort of how you ended up becoming a Buddhist.
Okay.
Quite a loaded question, but let's see where we go with this.
Well, like you, I wasn't brought up in the Buddhist tradition. I was brought up Church of Scotland, very much a Christian faith. But I always felt that it wasn't right. I always felt it was a spiritual need that I had. And I remember years ago as a little girl, walking down the high street in my hometown and being handed a leaflet from a Hare Krishna person.
Oh, wow.
I was only about 10 or 11 at the time. And I started reading this leaflet and I thought, actually, it's a very different religion. Eastern religions are very, very different. So I started digging into it a bit more. And then the Buddhist idea kind of appealed to me. So I always had real difficulty in believing there was a God.
Okay.
And of course, Buddhists don't believe in a God, but they do believe in a consciousness, a universal consciousness that exists. And maybe that's what some people do call God.
Yeah.
And so it really appealed to me. And Buddhism began more than 2,500 years ago.
Wow.
It was a prince called Siddhartha Gautama who lived in the north of India, very wealthy. He was going to inherit his father's possessions when his father died. But he began to realise that, began to notice that even although he had lots of material things and he was very lucky in a sense, he had health and happiness, he noticed that looking around him, that there was a lot of things that everybody went through in life, and that was birth, suffering, old age and death. No matter who you are or what you have, everyone has that.
Absolutely.
And so his view was to think about, how can I overcome this? People are suffering, so how can I find a way to overcome this? So he set out, he left behind all his riches. He was married at the time and had a child, and he left her behind and the child behind.
Oh, wow.
To go out and explore this idea of suffering and how it could be ceased. And later on, his wife became one of his nuns.
Oh, cool.
So it wasn't a very negative experience.
Yeah.
Obviously, it must have been awful when he left, but it worked out in the end. And she became one of his most devoted disciples. And he went from asceticism, which was starving himself. Wow.
And 6 years, wasn't it? A long time.
He went. That got him nowhere, basically. And then he developed this. He then went towards eating again, but focusing on his mind and focusing on practices to develop his mind. And that's when he reached enlightenment. He eventually sat down and he gained enlightenment. Okay. And that's a freeing of suffering, a freeing from being separate from others, a freeing from all negative mental states.
Oh, I could use some of that.
I know, we all could use some of that. So that really appealed to me about that. And he developed his dharma, his teachings around how everyone can achieve that, because he was a human being.
Okay,
and we're all human and we can all achieve it. And that's what I really like about it. It's more a philosophy, I would say, than a religion. So that appealed to me, but also from an early age I've suffered from obsessive compulsive disorder. And I always knew that my thoughts caused me lots of suffering. When I was a child, I was very, very anxious. I've got a fear of death and dying, and that completely pervades my thoughts all the time. Even now it still does that. But I know that these are thoughts, and these thoughts cause me suffering, and I was looking for ways in which to deal with that. Okay. So although I went through therapy and I had to take medication on a daily basis, I find the Buddhist path helps me deal with negative mental states. So I kind of realised that your thoughts aren't you, and often they're not real.
Thoughts aren't fact.
Thoughts aren't fact. Thoughts aren't real.
Yeah.
They're based on perception, on your perception of things. They're based on your conditioning. Yeah. And Buddhism just gives you a fantastic opportunity to work with your mind. It gives you a set of tools to follow and use. And so I kind of looked around for useful. I kind of, that was at the back of my mind for a good number of years, and then towards the kind of late 90s, I decided to see if I could find a group that I could practice with. And that's where I came across the Triratna group. And I just knew that there's a Buddhist retreat centre not far from where I live, and I popped along for an open day, and I just got this sense of contentedness and calmness when I chatted to the order members there. And it's a lay order, so they're not monks, they are nuns, it's a lay order, but they have this sense of peacefulness and calmness. And I thought that was really appealing, and I thought, well, something must work. And that's why I became involved in the order. And then in 2003, I decided to become a mitra, which means a friend of the order, and I took precepts to follow. And then I asked for ordination. So I'm in the process of training for ordination, but that's been since 2009. It takes a long time.
A long time, eh?
Yes.
It's dedication.
Because you're really working on integrating yourself, all aspects of yourself.
Yeah.
And really putting the 3 jewels of the heart of your life, which is the Buddha, the Dharma and the Sangha. And they have to be sure that you are, once you become an order member, that you're not going to fall back. And
got it.
Yeah,
that must be tricky, because I can imagine you have to face all of your vulnerabilities and weaknesses. Yeah.
But the thing that they like about it is to recognise your vulnerabilities and weaknesses, recognise that they've been created by conditioning. And they don't expect you to overcome them, but they expect you to be aware of them and to use the practices to help you with them.
Yeah, that's fantastic. Well, thank you for sharing that.
No problem.
I hope you're enjoying this conversation so far with Allison, and we've got so much more to come. But before we jump into all of that, I wanted to just dive into the subject of kindness, of community, of connection. So here at Spend More Time in the Wild, we have an online community, which, yes, is online, but more and more people are beginning to connect in person, head out for walks, adventures, they're talking, and it is literally changing people's lives. We feel so honoured and privileged to be able to initiate and set up this platform. And I just wanted to encourage you guys, if you're looking to build more meaningful connections in your life, then definitely take a look at our community space. But obviously I could seem a little bit biased, so how's about we hear from one of our Patreons about what they've got to say?
Hi, my name is Craig. I joined Patreon in February of this year, and I've followed Abbie and Wild for 2 years now. I've been made to feel very welcome in the Patreon community, where I'm encouraged to contribute to the future of Wild. I've also been given some priceless guidance on achieving my hiking and camping goals. So if you have an interest in the outdoors, I would highly recommend the Wild Patreon community. So why not join us and stay wild?
Thanks for that, Craig. Listen, folks, if you're looking to connect with people from around the world, if you want support to get out and achieve your biggest dreams and adventures, and you're not afraid of having real life, hard, deep, meaningful conversations, then this is the place to come and hang out. Head to www.patreon.com/spend more time in the wild. We can't wait to welcome you with open arms. So have a look today whilst you're listening, and we'll see you soon. Let's get back to the show. So about your OCD then, you said you've struggled with that from a young age. You've obviously lived in Scotland. Here at Wild, we're all about nature and getting outside. And I have to say, I don't know whether it's a screwed perception, but I think of Buddhism and I think of calm, clarity, outdoors, nature, sort of reincarnation kind of thing. And I'm just wondering if nature has played any role in sort of helping you manage your OCD at all.
Yeah, it does, because one of the main techniques that I use is to get into my senses and to be totally present. And nature is one of the best things to enable you to do that, because you can just, what do you see, what do you hear, what can you feel? You can feel the wind on your skin, you can hear sounds of bird song, rivers running, you can see a most beautiful view.
Very 3D, isn't it?
It's very 3D, definitely. And it's just really calming and relaxing.
Absolutely.
But I didn't always live in a beautiful place.
Oh.
But you can still use the techniques, even if you don't live in a beautiful place. You can still get in touch with your senses. And there's something about, one of my teachers taught me this about nature. It's grounding. So when you sit on the earth, it feels you feel totally connected to the earth, and it's a grounding, secure feeling.
It is, yeah.
Is that kind of sense to it as well.
Oh, that's really,
It makes you feel very, well, grounded is the word, but it just makes you feel secure, and also you begin to realise that there's more than just you. You're part of the wider thing.
It's like a sense of wholeness, isn't it? And you take your shoes off, you run your bare feet through the grass, and you, as you say, grounded. Almost a sense of meaning and purpose. Like, as you say, I'm part of something bigger. And I know personally I use mental health a huge amount. I use nature to help me with my mental health a huge amount. And so I always just sort of like to dig into that a little bit, because I think there's so much to offer all of us, and ultimately we are a part of nature. So I think getting out is a good thing.
Well, the thing is, one of the Buddha's main teachings is that there's no difference between me and anybody else or any other sentient being, whether it be an animal or whatever. So the whole idea behind it is that this concept of yourself and other is actually totally false. We are all part of the one thing. We're all interconnected. everything is dependent on everything else.
God, I've been talking a lot about that with my partner recently. With Spend More Time in the Wild, we've been trying to bring it right back to the core, which is environmental conservation. And you know, if you want to do something for nature, you have to look at everything.
Yes.
From everything about humans, everything about nature. It's just one. You know, and as soon as you try to break it up, it doesn't work, because everything is connected to something else. And obviously that's a very macro scale, but we as individuals, we feed into that.
Definitely, yeah.
Yeah. And is that sort of something that's a part of Buddhism then, sort of the circle of life? I mean, there's a little Lion King quote, but that...
Well, there's a wheel of life.
The wheel of life, okay.
The wheel of life.
Let's
in
dive
Buddhism.
into that. I like the
Well, I
sound
don't know
of that.
much about... I can't give you all the detail,
Okay,
but the wheel
fine.
of life kind of depicts all the different stages in a person's life that leads to suffering and rebirth.
Yeah.
And the wheel of life is like an endless thing that you will go around. The main things are birth, sickness, old age and death.
Oh, that's a bit sad.
Yeah. And in between it, it
Highs and
depicts
lows.
all sorts of different types of emotional states and things that happen to you.
Yeah.
And so the wheel of life basically saying you'll keep going round and round and round on the wheel of life through different existences until you reach enlightenment, until you escape from it.
Wow.
And because you'll continually suffer.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
Is this related to? It's escaped my brain right now. The eightfold something.
The Noble Eightfold
There
Path.
you go. I knew there was an 8 in there somewhere. Noble Eightfold Path. Could we dive into that a little bit?
Yeah, before we get on to that, the Buddha
Okay.
talked about the Four Noble Truths.
Got it.
So when he was doing all his meditation and became enlightened, he suddenly realised when he reached enlightenment, he could see all his previous lives. And it suddenly dawned on him the four realities of life. And the first one is the truth of suffering, that we all suffer. The other thing is the causes of suffering. What causes us suffering is three main things: greed and desire, ignorance and delusion, because we see things through perception. So we see things falsely. So this idea of myself and other is a false perception. And hatred and delusion as well.
Okay. Wow.
So these are the main things that cause us suffering. We always try to grasp for these things. And at the bottom of it all is this fear of death.
Oh, wow. Okay.
And we grasp for things. We grasp for things to make things other than they actually are. And we're very reluctant to accept life as it is. So that's the causes of suffering. But then he said, well, you also have the truth of the cessation of suffering. We can actually detach ourselves from these feelings.
Wow.
By using mind techniques. We can actually
Mindfulness
we can train our minds not to be attached, or recognise it when it happens. And then you've got the truth of the path of the cessation to suffering, and that's the Noble Eightfold Path.
Okay.
And that basically states right view, that you accept that actions have consequences, that you believe in the Buddha's teachings, and that karma, people talk about karma wrongly sometimes. Karma is really your action will lead to a consequence.
Okay. Is that a consequence that's equal to the action, or?
It just means that if you do something, we don't talk about good and bad in Buddhism, we talk about skillful and unskillful. So if you do something that's unskillful, you're going to upset somebody or upset yourself. And that's karma.
Got it. Okay.
Yeah. So then they've got right intention, and that's saying, well, I want to be kind and compassionate to people. And that's important. I don't want to show people ill will. I just want to be kind and compassionate.
That's a nice way to try and live, isn't it?
Yeah, it's the right attitude to go about things, and to appreciate that everybody else is human just like you. Yeah. So whatever you've gone through, they've gone through.
Oh, absolutely.
There's no difference between any of us,
Yeah.
you know. And then we've got right speech. It's truthful and kindly speech. So being kind to others. Then right action is try and do no harm. Or work for the good of others, so help other people. So it's things like generosity, kind-heartedness. Then right livelihood is choosing a job that's ethical, that doesn't cause harm. So if you worked in an abattoir, then that wouldn't be very ethical, because it does cause harm.
Yeah.
But then, choosing a profession that helps others.
Okay, got it.
And then right effort is to try and prevent the rising of negative mental states, so to cultivate positive mental states.
In yourself and others, or?
In yourself.
Okay,
in yourself.
As well.
It's about working with yourself, but it's also recognising when others are exhibiting negative mental states, and just understanding that that's what's happening with them. You know, it's nothing personal. Like, it's nothing personal against you. You know, it's just what they perceive. Then right mindfulness, as we know, is being present, and also being mindful of the teachings that can help us. And then right concentration, but just to practice meditation, because it's only through focus, meditation and focus, that we can become aware. Because when you meditate, your thoughts arise, you recognise them for what they are, and then you get a realisation of what's causing them. You can see through them. So that's it. That's a Noble Eightfold Path.
Yeah, it's so good to dive into those, even though obviously we're just skimming across the surface. But you can see, well, first of all, I think they're very ideal ways of living for most people. You know, I think if people really strove for that, the world would be a better place. But, you know, we've got things like the random acts of kindness movement. You know, the plant-based ways of living are really on the rise, you know, which is a much more compassionate way to live for the planet and for each other. And meditation and mindfulness, you know, you've got all the apps coming through. And it's interesting almost how, as humans, we sort of go far away from ourselves, I feel, on a spiritual level, and then we always end up pulled back.
Yes.
Even though it can take a generation or two, we always end up coming back to our roots and what makes us whole and connected. And it's really nice sort of diving into those. So, yeah, thank you for sharing.
Yeah, well, the Buddha discovered all of this more than 2,500 years ago. And mindfulness is very mainstream now, isn't it? Being kind is mainstream. But we find that, I mean, there's been scientific experiments done that if you help others, it makes you feel good.
Oh, absolutely.
It does a lot for yourself. Yeah. It's not just for the other person, it's for you as well.
Well, I'm not going to put any stats in here because I can't remember exactly what was what, but I read a study once, sort of basically looking at it's sort of Asia versus the Western world, if you want to paraphrase it. Sort of, what do you do when you feel rubbish? And in the West, it's like, oh, I'll go shopping, or I'll go get a coffee, or, you know, I'll watch Netflix all day. And in the East, it's like, oh, I'll ring a friend, or oh, I'll go see how my friend's doing. It pretty much always came back to an act of service. And I found that really fascinating because, again, it's like, you know, we've got this self-care movement that's really, you know, blowing through the roof, and it's fantastic that people are sort of starting to take responsibility for their well-being and looking after themselves so they can be the best version of themselves. But that doesn't always mean be selfish. Self-care is not selfish. Self-care is about a bigger picture.
The idea in Buddhism is that you have to, anything you apply to others, you apply to yourself, because if you don't have self-care, then you can't do things for other people.
Others,
it's getting the balance right between being selfish and looking after yourself so you can help others.
That's it. But the straight away, you know, that two-dimensional conversation is there are two streams, you know. Whereas I think it's very easy to fall down that one path of, no, it's about me, myself and I. Sad song, that. It's just me, myself and I. Anyway, let's moving on from this before I thoroughly embarrass myself. I'd like to dive into then massage. We might come back to Buddhism in a little bit. But you not only decided to train in head massage, you went the full whammy. You know, you went with the top dog. You got the knowledge, and you are the only tutor to offer this in Scotland and Northern England. So run us through your massage storyline. I completely understand why you wanted to do it. So, you know, being a tutor, working in the education system, very brain based. You said you want to do something with your hands. So how did all of this start?
Well, it started through the Buddhist group that I'm linked to, because lots of Buddhists take up therapies. They're very holistic anyway. They've got a holistic approach to life anyway, and a lot of Buddhists train in therapies as a way of being kind, as a way of practicing generosity, and also a lot of them, that's their livelihood. That's the way, by helping others, that's the way they do it, is through therapies. So I thought I'd like to learn a therapy, because I've always been interested in the holistic side of things. I've always been into alternative stuff and really enjoy that stuff. And I thought, well, it'd be good for me to learn something. It'd be something that I could offer to others as a kindness thing. But when I became trained, it also became something that I could practice mindfulness on, because when you're doing a massage, you can become totally present and just focus on the moves. So I thought, right, what kind of massage would I like to do? And then I thought, I'm not touching feet. No way am I going near feet. But now I've trained myself in Indian foot massage, so that's...
Oh, that went out the window. Well, you just had to start
then
somewhere
I thought,
else
naked
first.
bodies, naked sweaty bodies. No, I don't fancy that. And then, because I did think about Swedish therapy, Swedish massage, and I thought, it takes a lot out of you, the Swedish massage. It does. It's a lot being
I have to say, I've not had many massages.
a full
I'm not
body
an expert
therapist.
in this area.
Yeah, I thought, no, I wouldn't fancy that. And I thought, what about Indian head massage? And I thought it was just playing about with people's hair.
And as a hairdresser. No offence to any hairdressers out there, sorry.
And then I thought, well, that sounds quite good. And I thought, well, if I'm going to learn something, I want to learn it as a therapy. I don't want to learn it as just a kind of treatment that a beautician would give, because you can learn head massage at a day course.
Got it.
In beauty therapy, you can go along and do Indian head massage. I thought, no, I want to learn it as an actual therapy, something that people would receive regularly that can make a big difference to them. And then, because of my educational background, I thought, I want to learn from the best person that can. And I also want a course that's going to put me through my paces, so that I'm really going to be trained well, and that'll be tested well as well. So I dug around, I did a lot of research on the web, and then I discovered Narendra and his technique, Indian Champissage, and he's got a renowned centre in London, the London Centre of Indian Champissage, which is now called Champissage International.
Cool.
And I found out that he ran courses in London, and he also runs courses around the world. So he trains people to become therapists, but he also trains people to become tutors. So I thought, that's the guy for me.
That's it.
Now, the other thing that's unusual about Narendra is he died a few years back, but he was blind from the age of 2. So he had an amazing sense of touch, and he also was a trained osteopath.
Oh, wow.
So he developed the technique because, obviously, with an Indian background, he and his wife moved to Britain in the early 80s. And he realised that any kind of massage that you went for in the UK stopped at the neck. There was nothing that happened above the neck. And he thought might be useful to introduce a kind of therapy based on head massage, but also bringing into account his osteopathic knowledge. So he went back to India and he developed this technique, which is a wonderful technique. It's not just about the head, it's the upper back, shoulders, the arms, the neck, the head, the face, and the top 3 chakras, energy centres that he works on. He developed that technique and he brought it back to the UK, and he and his wife did an exhibition at the Body, Mind and Soul Fair in London at Earl's Court. Or is it Olympia? One of the two, one of the big exhibition centres. And he was just inundated with people wanting to know about this new therapy. So he brought it to the UK as an actual therapy. Because in India, up until then, it was head massage was just done in families, in Indian families. They passed it on from one family member to another, and they all developed their own different techniques. And if you go to India, you always get a head massage as part of a barber's appointment or a hairdressing appointment.
Ideal.
So that's what he did, and he was the one I wanted to train with. And also, I just looked at the course. It was a 3-day solid weekend, so it was 24 hours over 3 days study.
Oh, right.
And then it was 10 back to practice in 10 case studies, 5 treatments each. It was 50 treatments with case studies and recording notes. And then there was an hour exam, a project to write. I did mine on chakras, chakra energy centres, and then there was an exam at the end of a written exam. Part of it was anatomy, studying anatomy, and then actually giving him, I wanted to do my practical on him, so he actually passed me, and I wanted him to pass me because he was the person that developed it.
Wow, that's fantastic.
Yeah, so I trained with him, and I also did a couple of one-to-one sessions with him. I went back, it was in London, I travelled to London to do the main training, and then I went back before my exam for a couple of sessions with him on a one-to-one basis, just to get one-to-one tuition. And because of his sense of touch, he really would say, just move your fingers slightly this way or that way, and it made such a difference. It's incredible. And that was it, really. That's how I got involved with him. And then I decided after that, I thought, I came back home and I was just practising in friends and family. I did the occasional client, but it was really a hobby. Yeah. And I thought, why don't I train as a tutor and train other people to do it, because I'm a teacher anyway. And I did think it might be something that I could do to if I became part-time as a lecturer, I could do that as a part-time thing. So I went back and I delivered 2 weekends with him in London as a tutor. So he trained me as a tutor as well. and then came back, and I've been offering courses since.
That's fantastic. What a story. No, it's really amazing, you know, and it certainly it speaks a lot of your inherent attributes. You know, you seem like a very driven person. When you want something, you're gonna get it.
Yeah, definitely. Well, there's no point in being half-hearted about it, is there?
But I love that, because, you know, it shows your dedication to this and wanting to really learn. And I think, again, you know, there's something we can all take away from that. I think, you know, these days we're used to a click of a button, instant orders, that kind of thing, and actually you've got to put in the time, the effort, the learning, the failures in order to get to this point where you can then teach others. And it's being humble with yourself along the way, like this is the journey, you know, and I'm sure it feels like you never actually reach a destination with the massage and the Buddhism in total.
No,
it's always keeping that self-awareness, like it's just like, oh, what's going on here then? But I was very interested. I feel like there's a few angles we could go down here, but first question I have might seem a bit random, but I know a few people who have done massage, and they say because you're sat/stood in someone's energy, it can be quite draining. And I wondered if you could shed any light on that for us today.
It can be draining if you allow it to be draining. I mean, most a lot of massage therapists will do sort of self-cleansing rituals, but I don't find that with Champissage, because at the end of the treatment you balance the individual's top 3 chakras, energy centres, and in the process of doing that you also balance your own. So I don't find it draining at all. You're actually helping another person's energy work better for them. You're not taking on board their negative energy, and that's the difference.
Got it.
Yeah, because you can take on board what people are bringing with them, but you have to, it's about making their energy, it's by unblocking their energy, you're helping them deal with whatever it is that they have.
Sort of like emotional release type.
Emotional release. Sometimes people get quite upset. They can become quite tearful. Not often. Because by the time you get onto the chakras, they're really quite spaced out and relaxed.
Okay, got it.
But the thing that's really good about the treatment is that it actually, you feel spaced out and relaxed at the end, but within about 20 to 30 minutes you feel energised. It rebuilds your energy as well.
That's cool.
So you don't feel, I don't feel drained at all. There is I mean, you can imagine if you were doing like a full body massage, there's lots of energy goes into that. The treatment that I give, the vigorous part is on the back and the shoulders, and that's maybe only 10% of what you do. The rest of it is on the other part of the body, and it doesn't take a lot physically out of you.
Got it. Now, how long does an average treatment last?
It lasts about 30 to 40 minutes.
Okay, that's good.
I can do it quicker than that. I can do it in 20.
Oh,
I can do a speed version. But the average treatment is 30 to 40 minutes.
Got it.
Yeah.
It must be very fulfilling, you know. And as you say, there's a lot of depth to it. It's not just like, oh, let's rub some muscles and you'll feel better. There. It's like, actually, let's look at you as a whole. Like as a physical being, as a spiritual, emotional being, and I really like that.
Yeah. Well, I mean, they say the treatment does actually work on the 3 levels: on the physical, the mental, and the subtle benefits.
Okay.
The whole body effect that it has. And I've treated people, and I've seen it with other students who've done case studies. You know, they do case studies with me. They use clients that they practice on, and they'll report back on the changes over a course of 5 treatments. And often, although they're working on the upper back, the shoulders, the arms, etc., people speak about less pain in the legs, less pain in the lower back. One person spoke about the terrible dry eyes, and that resolved itself. It's like it just shows you the whole effect it has on the whole body. Everything's interconnected, isn't it?
So almost no matter what you're struggling with, if you're finding it hard to find relief to a degree, like I am with my back injury, it's time to get a head massage.
Happy to do one for you, Abbie.
Anytime. All right, let's get that in the diary.
Definitely. Yeah, I mean, it does have a whole body effect. It really does. Another thing it's really good for is obviously headaches and things like that, and tinnitus and jaw and neck pain. But it's really good for insomnia.
Okay, why is that then?
Because it relaxes the whole body. It releases toxins. It relaxes the body.
Gets that energy moving.
Gets it and blocks negative energy. And people always feel they can sleep better. One of my friends has terrible trouble with insomnia for years, and she always sleeps better after a treatment.
That's fascinating.
Yeah.
I'd like to actually explore a little bit about chakras. So I have to be honest. Again, the whole world of energies is something I am newly dabbling in, and I'm very much enjoying it. What I've discovered is quite a vast well of ideas and information and that stuff. So I'd like to just very loosely jump into chakras. What are they? And I know that we have a few of them. And how do they affect us, if at all?
Right, okay. Well, chakras are energy centres of the body. And like you, probably, I didn't believe in them. I thought that's a load of nonsense. Until I was on one of Narendra's courses, and one of the other participants was an energy healer, a holistic healer. And I said, I'm not really sure I believe in these chakras. And she said, right, lie down. And she got a pendulum and she held it over each of the chakras, and they started spinning.
No way.
The pendulum started spinning around, and I thought, no, I believe in them. Definitely believe in them. And they've been part of Indian medicine and other types of medicine for centuries and centuries, particularly Ayurvedic medicine. And so the chakras are energy centres of the body. And they're located in the astral body, which is just about an inch from your main body.
From the middle out or the out in?
Middle out.
Okay.
Yeah, about an inch. They sit in there an inch away from your physical body. And they're regarded as spinning vortices of energy, or spinning circles of energy. And each of them has different colours and sounds associated with them, and they govern different parts of your body. So the main chakras are your 7 chakras.
7, okay.
You've got 7 chakras.
Yeah.
So you've got... at your spine, the bottom of your spine, you've got what's called the base chakra, and that governs the pelvis and the coccyx area of the body. And that's colour is red, and the element that it links to is earth, the element earth. So it's linked to kind of the elements, the major elements as well. And then you've got the sacral chakra, and that's below your tummy button, and that's orange.
Good colour.
And the element of that is water. Next to water. That governs the abdomen area. Then you've got your solar plexus. You might have heard of this term, solar plexus. Yeah. That's above your tummy button, below your rib cage.
Got it.
And that's your solar plexus chakra. It's yellow, and it's associated with fire.
Wow. Okay.
So if you think about the sun, the sun. And then you've got your these 3 chakras, the base, the sacral, and the solar plexus, are your lower chakras. And then you've got a bridging chakra, which is your special heart chakra.
Okay.
So that's where your heart is.
Yeah.
And that's a lovely soft green colour, and that covers the chest and heart area and lungs.
Okay.
And then we have the throat chakra, which is a sky blue colour.
Yeah.
So that covers your expression, communication, etc.
Yeah.
And that's the throat area, and the element is ether, and the colour of that, as I say, is sky blue. And then you've got your forehead, or your third eye chakra, which is above your nose, in the middle of your forehead, and that's a midnight blue or an indigo colour. And that links to your mind. Okay. And then finally at the top you've got your crown chakra, which is a violet colour. And that's all about your spirit. It links to your spirit. And that's the one at the top. The top 3 are the throat, the third eye, and the crown, and they're called your higher chakras. And your crown is the master chakra. So if you work on the crown, then you can open up the other chakras. So all that we do to work with them, you work on the top 3 chakras at the end of the head massage treatment. And all we do is we just visualise the colour coming into the area, breathing in, and when we breathe out, we visualise the relevant sound that goes with it.
Okay. So what's that helping to do?
Unblock the energy.
Unblock the energy.
So it's releasing any blocked energy in that area. And often when you do the chakras with them, even although I'm just working on the top 3, they'll say, oh, I can see orange, I can see red, because you're working with the crown chakra, and that's normally because that's the area that's blocked.
Interesting. Okay.
So the people will talk about seeing colours, different colours.
Is it primarily about the colours being associated with that internal energy, or could it be you have pain at the base of your spine, so you need to work with that chakra?
It could be.
It could be,
yeah. And they also talk about, I've got a book that I'm reading at the moment, I haven't quite got through it all yet, that the chakras develop over time, that at different ages leads to the development of your chakras. So the younger you are, your lower chakras develop, and then the older you get, your higher chakras develop as well. It's quite fascinating. But what happens is, because of stress, they get out of kilter and become unbalanced.
Okay.
Yeah, because you might hold tension in certain parts of your body, and that affects the energy.
Is having them all balanced a part of being enlightened?
No, not necessarily.
Okay.
No.
Well, I don't feel balanced anyway, so it's all good.
And the colours come from the rainbow, don't they?
That's true.
They're the rainbow colours.
Oh, I like that.
And all together they make up a white light, don't they? White light is made up of those colours. Yeah.
Oh, no, it's fascinating.
Yeah.
So when we are meditating or practicing mindfulness, which is obviously something we mentioned that's a part of Buddhism, is that something that can help balance chakras, or is that completely separate?
Well, mindfulness and meditation helps to settle your thoughts, settle your mind, gives you a sense of calmness, and helps you to... A lot of it is, people think that meditation is being in a blissful state. It's not about that, and there'll be no thoughts. There will always be thoughts, but it's not letting yourself get hooked by the thoughts. It's watching them arise and letting them go, letting them pass away again.
Detaching from them, isn't it?
Yeah, but you can do a chakra meditation. You can actually do a chakra meditation, which I like to do, which is basically just visualising the colour coming into the different parts of the body and silently vocalising the sound going out. So you can, and I often use that as a technique. It's a focusing technique. Yeah. It's a visualisation. So you can use you can focus on the breath. That's one way of meditating, or you can use other types of visualisation. And I like doing the chakra one. Yeah. Because you get a double whammy then, don't you?
I like the sound of that. Can we do that at the end of this?
Yes.
Is that something we can do?
Yeah,
that's
definitely.
Exciting.
Yeah.
Good. So then I'll feel more balanced by the end.
Yeah. Often if you're feeling stressed, I find just doing the chakra meditation really helps. You don't have to spend a lot of time on it. You can it just grounds you, doesn't it?
Yeah, I was going to say, it's as you say, meditation isn't the removal of the thoughts. It's just becoming, as you say, grounded, and it's becoming separate from these things. And I think, as you say, as you mentioned with your sort of 5 senses, mindfulness, it's all of these things to a varying degree are doing similar things, aren't they? Which is bringing you back into you, the here and now, the present.
The present, yeah.
Especially, when it comes to dealing with mental health. We talked a little bit about your OCD struggles. It's one of the main things that people are talking about. Just, inhale for 4, hold for 5, exhale for 6, just extending the out breath helps to, decrease the cortisol levels in our body, which is a stress hormone. And it's just fascinating that all of this science is coming out. But this is the thing, it's science now, which 2,500 years ago when Buddha was trotting around, he's just like, oh, look what I discovered. And now we're like, look what we've discovered. And the truth is, it's not. It's coming from the ancient medicine. And
that's what I love about it, because it's only now scientists catching up with what the Buddhist masters have been telling us for years.
Yeah, and this is the thing, isn't it? It's like modern medicine is so amazing, what we can do. But there is so much to be said for these, I don't know, for lack of a better phrase, ancient philosophies and ways of living and ancient knowledge. There's so much out there.
Yeah, and science is catching up with this idea of having a separate consciousness, having a separate mind, because the Buddhists believe that the mind is a part of the body, is a part of the body, and there is, if you think about quantum physics, can explain sometimes this idea of consciousness. Okay. And the Dalai Lama always said, and it's very much, I don't know if you're aware of this, but in Buddhist training, when you're training to be a monk, they argue all the time. They challenge the teachings all the time. You actually go to Buddhist university and they constantly challenge the actual teachings. And the Dalai Lama has always said, if science proves that what I believe is wrong, then I'll believe it. Then I'll go with that. But it hasn't yet.
That's insane. That just gave me goosebumps.
No, because it's not accepting things. And the Buddha always said, don't just accept in faith what I'm telling you.
Absolutely.
Find it for yourself. Try it for yourself. I managed to do it, and you can manage to do it.
Just don't be blind. We're not just sheep, but.
And it's not about blind faith. It's about you have to work on yourself. You have to experience it yourself. You can't. It's not an easy ride.
Well, that's the thing, is self-awareness, having an open heart, open mind, non-judgmental attitude, all of those 8 things we just went through, basically pursuing wholeness and love and kindness as the foundation of who you are. Like that goes against, what was it, that wheel of life thing?
The wheel of life thing,
yeah, which is, as we've already pointed out, like there's birth, yes, there's other things, but there's suffering, there's pain, there's death, and we are constantly a blur of life and death. constantly a birth of joy and suffering.
Yes.
And it's finding that equilibrium through the middle of it.
Yeah.
And your place of belonging. And that's no easy feat.
It's not. I mean, I talked about the precepts. The precepts in Buddhism are basically, the first one is with open-handed generosity, I purify my body. With stillness, simplicity and contentment, I purify my body. With truthful communication, I purify my speech. With mindfulness, clear and radiant, I purify my mind. With deeds of loving kindness, I purify my body. So, and it's all about, if you adopt these things, then you become you suffer less. Yeah. But it's hard.
Absolutely. But all the good things are hard, really, aren't they?
Yeah, another thing that it trained me to... I mean, I'd known
hard.
this from a young age, that because of my OCD, my thoughts aren't real. And I realised that. So for a lot of people, when they first encounter Buddhism, they find that really difficult, because they'll say, my thoughts are me. But for me, that was dead easy. I thought, I know they're not real, because I know what I can suffer from. And it's not real.
You've done that journey.
I knew that from experience. A lot of people struggle with that. They think that their thoughts are them, but they're not.
It's hard when the thoughts are so loud and overwhelming and all-consuming, and we don't even have the self-awareness to be, I am me, these are thoughts which are not me. Like, that is almost a scary thing to go through.
It is.
I think,
It is.
Yeah, it's like, you think about, no one is going to see the world through my eyes, through your eyes. No one knows what's inside of me, inside of you. Like, we are all connected, but we're also very separate, if you really want to go into that. And it's scary, it's frightening, but it's also amazing.
But that's a delusion. Buddhists would say that's ignorance and delusion, because we're not separate.
Okay, cool. I'm liking this.
Let's
go.
There isn't a separateness between you. It's completely an illusion. It's based on your upbringing.
Okay.
And as you develop from a child, you suddenly realise there's an out there and there's an in here.
Yeah.
But in reality, there isn't.
Wow.
There isn't an out there and an in here.
I feel like I'm becoming more enlightened by the second.
I wish I was. But that's a complete illusion.
Yeah.
And people go, what? I don't understand this. Because remember, you've got an ego.
Yeah, that gets in the way.
And the ego's there to protect you.
Oh, okay.
I call it, there's also the chimp. I call it The Chimp, Managing Your Chimp by Steve Peters. You need to read about him, because it's about this survival instinct.
Yeah.
And it's linked to your ego. We're born, and there's actually a physical reason why part of our brain regards ourselves as separate.
Okay.
And it's all about protection and survival instinct. And that's what makes us behave the way we do. So when somebody does something to us, it's like we're being attacked. Yeah. So it's really straight. It's really weak.
Jeez, I feel like I could dive into this for hours.
I know you could. Yeah, you could. Yeah.
Keeping an eye on the time. I'd like to actually just ask, because I'm probably going to forget by the end. So if somebody decided, I want to give this head massage a go, where do they go to find out more about that?
Well, they could contact me.
Okay, cool. Well, I'll put all the information in the show notes.
Yeah, it's indianchampissage.com.
Okay,
You could contact me. Yeah. Or there's the centre in London, which is Champissage International.
Amazing.
We've had to curtail the courses at the moment because of COVID, but hopefully we'll start them up again. I'm thinking about maybe trying an online version of the training.
Oh, wow.
It's something I think might work.
Yeah.
I think what COVID has shown is a lot of stuff can be done online that you probably didn't think could be in the past. So that's what I would suggest if people are interested in learning about it.
Brilliant.
Yeah.
No, thank you for that. Just before we start to wrap this thing up, do you feel like there's anything else we could touch on in Buddhism or massage that would be interesting to dive into? If you want to find out more about Buddhism, then Triratna have a site called Free Buddhist Audio. Free Buddhist Audio.
freebuddhistaudio.com, all one word, all joined together. And that's a really good site. It's got lots of different teachings in there. It tells you all the different teachers in that tradition. And it's all free. You can make a donation if you want to, but it's not necessary. Wow. So you can get stuff from very beginners study to all the way to advanced study on lots of different topics.
Cool. I think I will be nosing around there in a little bit once we wrap this up. Yeah. Well, listen, it's been so brilliant to dive into this, and obviously, yes, I say dive, but we have skimmed across the surface. Like all of these things are so vast and deep, but I feel it's it's a wonderful taster for people, you know, to feel into something and be like, this is something that I want to research more. I want to go and physically experience. And that's a wonderful gift. So thank you for your time today.
Oh, you're welcome. It's been lovely chatting to you.
Absolutely. So before we, we're going to jump into our quickfire questions, and then we'll wrap up the session with a little chakra meditation.
Yes, wonderful.
So we'll just allow people to
experience it.
Yes, exactly, and feel more balanced and grounded. And
it's something that's very simple. You can do it yourself anytime.
Exactly. Yeah. Alrighty. Yeah. So, are you ready for this quick fire question?
Yes.
Good. First question was, what was the last book you read and loved?
The last book I read and loved was A Confederacy of Dunces.
Okay.
By John Kennedy Toole.
What's that about?
It's a wacky book.
All right, I'm reading that.
But it's got an interesting story because the guy who wrote it couldn't get it published, and he took his own life. And then after that happened, his mum decided to try and get it published, and it became, he actually won an American award for it. He's an American writer, and I'd read it years ago and I'd forgotten all about it, and I thought I'm going to read it again, and it's just really wacky.
Okay, game on. Well, we like a bit of wacky, so I'll check that one out. So question number 2. Are you a morning or an evening person?
Night owl, definitely.
Yeah? You fly when it's dark?
I don't do mornings.
No?
No.
What sort of time do you wake up then?
I maybe wake up about 10, but I wouldn't be doing anything before 12.
All right. My day's wrapping up by 12 pretty much.
I know, but of course when I teach, I start teaching at 9, but my ideal day would start at 12.
Fair point.
Yeah.
Good to know. Have you always been an evening person?
Definitely.
Amazing. It's so interesting.
And I can stay up till 1, 2 in the morning quite easily. I start waking up at 9, 10 o'clock at night.
Wow. I can't say I relate, but good to know. Thank you for sharing that. Question number 3. Very serious one. Mm-hmm. If you were reincarnated as an ice cream flavour, what flavour would you be?
That's dead easy. That is salted caramel.
Salted caramel for the win.
Wonderful. Anything salted caramel.
Yeah. It's good flavour.
Gorgeous.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, not a lot to say about that because the flavour does it all. Okay, next question. What did you want to be when you were growing up?
I wanted to be an interpreter with the OU, not the OU, the EU. The EU.
A bit bigger.
Or the United Nations.
Wow.
I studied languages and I loved languages. I really enjoyed it, and I thought, I'd like to be an interpreter. So I did, part of my degree was business and German. Yep. And then I realised actually, you better being bilingual.
Yeah, got it.
So I gave up on that. But I really always wanted to be a teacher as well.
Amazing. Well, you got there.
I got there, yeah. I used to pretend to be a teacher. I used to play at being a teacher.
That's fun.
I know.
I was a safari guide.
And now I'm a teacher. Well, I'm a lecturer. I'm not a teacher.
Yeah.
I didn't want to work with kids. I wanted to work with adults.
Oh, cool.
Yeah.
Get the knowledge across. I'm gonna thoroughly embarrass myself now. Let me practice my German. Hopefully, do my partner proud. Wie geht es dir?
Sehr gut, danke.
Cool. Next question. That's all I got. Well, at least I've got that now. It's taken like 4 months to learn that one little. How are you? Okay, next question. What is your most unusual talent?
Oh, it has to be Indian Champissage, hasn't it? It's got to be that.
It's pretty niche.
Yeah. And also, as you mentioned, I also do. Narendra's wife developed a natural facelift massage technique.
Yeah. What does that involve then?
It involves working with the muscles on the face. There's 93 muscles in your face. Wow. And it's a technique that she developed to basically make you look younger. So that's another useful one, that one.
I think you might have people queuing up at your door by the end of this. Well, that's good talents to have, I tell you.
Yes,
You're a good person to know. Who has inspired you most in your life?
Has to be the Buddha.
Yeah.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, I know he's no longer with us, but I also love the Dalai Lama.
Yeah. He's got a lot of good stuff to say.
He just epitomises Buddhism. You know, he really does. He's got a great sense of humour, doesn't take things too seriously, and that's what Buddhism is about. Don't take things too seriously. A lovely sense of humour. And as he said, my religion's kindness. That's all it is.
Yeah.
And I think he's wonderful. I'd love to meet him. I'm thinking about writing to Dharamsala, actually, to see if I could meet him. You can actually write, but I can't physically meet him at the moment because of COVID.
True. Well, I can only encourage you to get that letter out.
I know, because he's getting on. He's in his 80s now. And I do follow him on Facebook. He's got a Facebook page and he teaches regularly.
I did not know that.
And you can just watch his teachings. Yeah, he teaches all the time. He's always having conferences with people and teaching. And I actually saw him when he came to Glasgow. He did in 2004, he came to Glasgow for 4 days, and he was teaching Pratichet Samappada, which is everything is dependent on conditions. Wow. Independent arising, it's called. Dependent arising, it's called. And it just blew my mind. Because it wasn't just a spiritual teaching, it was a scientific teaching to explain why we're all interconnected. Ooh. It was fascinating.
Wow.
But I couldn't follow it half the time.
Yeah, I can imagine.
He's wonderful.
Well, get that letter out. Next question. When you're 80 years old, what will matter to you most in your life?
Looking back, or even just as what matters now, is just that I'm healthy and I'm happy.
Yeah.
And that everybody's healthy and happy. Just wish everyone healthy and happiness.
That's good. Health and happiness. Cheers to that.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah.
All right. What is your favourite food?
Crisps.
Crisps? Particular flavour?
Almost anything.
Just crisps.
Not too keen on pickled onion, but anything.
That's a crisp flavour?
Yes.
Oh wow! I have to say I don't eat crisps really ever, so it's a whole world that I'm unfamiliar with.
I adore them.
Yeah. I used to know there was prawn cocktail, right?
Yes, there is. Yeah,
as a kid, I used to like that a lot. A Marmite?
Yeah, there's Worcester sauce.
Ooh, now we're branching out. What is your most unusual crisp flavour you've eaten? Bonus question.
I think it has to be Worcester sauce.
Yeah,
I find that really strange.
Special.
Yeah.
Right.
But I love them. I do love crisps.
Yeah. Good crunch.
Yeah.
Crisp sandwich?
Yes.
Oh, mate, now we're talking.
Crisps on cheese.
Oh, wow.
On a sandwich.
Look at that. You've done it all.
That's nice.
Crisp master. We'll ordain you with that, I think. What's your favourite outdoor space?
It has to be where I live.
Yeah. Thin place.
The thin place, yeah, has to be gorgeous.
Yeah.
Very gorgeous. Yeah, it's lovely.
Is there a lot of wildlife around?
Yeah, I've got a red squirrel that visits every day.
I love red squirrels.
I know they're lovely.
They make me all mushy.
We've got loads of them. In fact, there's a bit of a competition going on between my neighbours and things. We've got a WhatsApp group. I've had 7 red squirrels on my visiting today, and I'm like, well, I've only got one. And also we've got golden eagles down the bottom of the glen, and we've got deer, stags. One day I looked out and there was 2 stags in the garden. Beautiful.
Gosh.
Just gorgeous.
What a dream.
Yeah, it's lovely. Yeah.
Fantastic. Well, final question then. Do you have any catchphrases or mantras that you live your life by?
2 things. One is be kind, and if you can't be kind, do no harm. And the other one is your thoughts aren't real.
That's good.
That's works for me. That one. That's really important for me. That when that little voice is in there trying to cook you, it's not real. We've got as humans, we've got a unique ability to observe our thoughts. Animals can't do that.
True.
So it's good to be able to do that we can observe it and say, oh, that's not real. That's I don't have to get hooked by that.
Definitely a skill to
develop.
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah, not easy.
Yeah. Oh, I have loved this conversation, Alison. It's
so
been very insightful.
Chatting to you.
Oh yeah. Have you got, before we jump into our meditation then, any final words of advice or anything else you'd like to leave the listeners with before we jump into our chakra meditation?
No, just that I just wish everyone health and happiness and to be free from suffering.
Wonderful.
Anything that we do as Buddhists in terms of our practice, we do it for the benefit of all beings, and that they be free from suffering.
I love that. Oh, yeah. I'm feeling so good right now. Alrighty, so should we get ourselves comfortable and we'll wrap this up with our
definitely.
meditation.
Yep. Hopefully I'll make you feel even better.
Ideal. I'll take it.
Okay, so what we're going to do first of all is we're just going to get ourselves comfortable wherever we happen to be. So it could be on a seat or it could be lying down. Lying down's very nice. So you just want to relax back and uncross your arms and your legs. And we want to begin by taking 3 slow deep breaths in through our nose and out through our mouth, and just begin to feel the seat or the cushion underneath us. Just feel ourselves sitting here, the weight of our body on the cushion or lying down on the bed or wherever we happen to be. So another 3 slow deep breaths in through our nose and out through our mouth. Just be aware of your feet on the floor. Put your hands on your lap or on your thighs. Just be aware of, feel your hands touching your lap or your thighs. And your feet on the floor. So we've got the sense of being grounded. And for the next 10 minutes, we don't have to worry about anything. We're just here, now, being alive and experiencing the joy of being alive. We can forget about anything for the next few minutes while we go through this meditation or visualization. So what we're going to do is take our attention to the bottom of our spine and to our base chakra. And what I'd like you to do is just to breathe in and imagine a red light coming into the base of your spine. And then breathe out. And then visualize the sound lam. Or silently say the sound lam to yourself. So breathe in. Very slowly breathe in, visualizing that red light coming into the base of your spine. And breathe out, lam. Just say it very silent. Just say it silently to yourself. You can vocalize it if you want to. Breathe in again and visualize red light coming into the base of our spine. And breathe out, silently saying lam. Now we're going to move to our sacral chakra, which is just below your tummy button. You could put your hand on that area if you want to. So just visualize the colour orange, an orange light coming into that area of your body. Breathe in deeply, visualizing orange coming in, and breathe out, vam. Breathe in, slowly visualizing an orange light coming in and out, vam. Breathe in slowly, visualizing that orange light, unblocking the chakra. Breathe out, vam. Now we'll move to our solar plexus, which is just above your tummy button. So again, you can put your hands on that area if it helps. And just breathe in, visualize a yellow golden sunlight coming into that area. Breathe in slowly, visualizing that golden sunlight coming in. Breathe out slowly and visualize and saying the sound ram silently. So we breathe in, visualize a golden sunlight coming in. Breathe out, ram. And again, breathe in, visualizing that yellow golden sunlight coming in. And breathe out, ram. So we're going to move to our special heart chakra. And what I'd like you to do is to visualize that space in the middle of your chest and just visualize a lovely soft green light coming in and breathing out, silently saying the sound yam. So breathe in, visualizing that soft green light coming into your chest, and breathe out yam. Breathe in once more, visualizing that soft green light coming into the area, and breathe out slowly, silently vocalizing yam. And now we're going to move to the top 3 chakras, and we'll start with the throat chakra. So just breathe in very slowly and visualize a turquoise blue coming into your throat area. Think of a summer's day, a blue sky, beautiful blue sky in a summer's day, not a cloud in the sky. So visualize that colour coming in, breathing in slowly, and breathe out and silently say Ham. So breathe in, sky blue going into your throat chakra, and breathe out Ham. Breathe in again, visualizing that sky blue coming into your throat area, and breathe out Ham. Now your third eye in the middle of your forehead. So this time we want to breathe in slowly and visualize a midnight blue or indigo colour coming into the middle of your forehead. And we breathe out and the sound is Om. So we breathe in visualizing an indigo midnight blue colour, and breathe out silently saying Om. And we breathe in again slowly, visualizing the midnight blue indigo light coming into the area of our forehead, and we breathe out Om. And then finally our crown chakra, the master chakra. So we want to breathe in and visualizing a violet purple coming into the top of our crown. And breathe out, again silently saying Om. So we breathe in, violet coming into the top of our crown nice and slowly, and breathe out Om. And one more time we visualize that violet colour coming into the top, down through the top of our skull, into the crown of our head, and breathe out Om. So we just want to sit and imagine all those chakras opened up now, creating this rainbow of light, and all our energy centres being balanced and giving a sense of calmness. Just take your time, just enjoy visualizing that image of the rainbow and all the chakras being open. So the red of the base chakra, the orange of the sacral chakra below our tummy button, the yellow of the solar plexus above our tummy button, the soft green of the heart chakra in the middle of our chest, the sky blue, turquoise blue of the throat chakra, the indigo or midnight blue in the middle of our forehead, our third eye, and the violet on our crown, the master chakra. Just enjoy visualizing all these colours. And this is a technique you can use at any time, anywhere, and you can spend longer on each of the centres, energy centres. So you can spend any length of time that you feel appropriate or that you have available. And you may see colours as you do this. Some do, some don't. But any colours you see would indicate that these are areas that have been unblocked. So we'll bring the meditation to an end. Begin by again feeling your feet on the floor or your body lying down on the bed or couch. Bring your attention to your fingers. Take 3 slow deep breaths. And open your eyes slowly in your own time. And have a little stretch. May you be well. May you be happy. May you be free from suffering.
I've got to admit, I'm feeling so grounded right now. I'm going to wrap this conversation up here, guys, and just say thank you so much for listening. Wherever you are, please don't forget to subscribe, leave us a review, comment, share, get this conversation as far and as wide as you can, because I really believe there's something for everybody in what Allison and I talked about in this conversation. From loving kindness to gratitude to being more grounded and in the present, in the moment. You know, I think it's something we can all use more of. So whether you want to become somebody who practices Buddhism or you just want to bring a little bit more goodness and wholeness into your life, look inwards, feel inwards, and step out onto a whole new path. Thanks for listening, guys, and until next time, stay wild.